Jonathan Larsen with the Young Turks, and the Democratic National Committee this weekend voted 222 to 137 against allowing a single issue debate among the presidential candidates on climate change. And the answer to what to do about that is very simple, which is do it anyway. There are 15 candidates who have expressed support for a single issue debate on climate change, and there's no reason they cannot do one regardless of the DNC's sanction. Now, if you're not familiar, the penalty for participating in one of these debates without the sanction of the DNC is, hold on to your hat, you don't get to participate in the next DNC debate. That's it. That's the big punishment that these folks are apparently afraid of incurring. And there are a number of non-ridiculous reasons for the DNC to be putting this rule out there. They don't want to elevate one issue over another. They think it would be unfair to change the rules now midstream when everyone agreed to the rules at the beginning. But this is a tremendous opportunity for Democratic candidates to make clear that those norms, that fairness to candidates and the candidate committees who approve these rules or whatever, that fairness is less important than giving precedence to climate change. And another argument that's been put forward is that most of the candidates are in virtual agreement that climate change, A, obviously exists, B, obviously is man-made, C, deserves and requires serious, massive, transformational solutions, and are even to a large extent in agreement on what those solutions ought to be. But none of that matters, because that's only about one very specific area of debates, which is, well, let's see how they differ. Debates serve a much, if you want to see how they differ, go read their platform pages, right? This is not solving a problem that's a meaningful problem. If you seriously want to see how they differ, it's go read their platform pages. The purpose that debates serve is to let people see them, right? This is performative. It's theater. It doesn't mean it's fake, but it's theater. And it says something about what the party stands for and what the candidates care about and the way they carry themselves and the way they respond in the moment, right? This brings eyeballs to these exchanges that otherwise will not go to the policy pages to see what their platforms are. So the opportunity here is for candidates to show that they're willing to violate norms, right? This is one of the things that got Trump into office, in addition to racism, misogyny, all those other things. He demonstrated and exhibited and performed a willingness to violate norms, and that was appealing to a lot of his voters when they thought that willingness to violate norms was in their service. Well, if you want to appear to violate norms in the service of the greater good, it seems to me that violating the norm of don't have a debate without the DNC's permission is a pretty damn tiny norm to violate, right? Pete Buttigieg is out there talking about undoing the Electoral College in the Supreme Court. Okay, well, the DNC, I think, is probably a norm that you can violate as well. Bernie Sanders isn't even in the party. So if you can violate that norm of not being a member of the Democrats, there's no moral principle to adhering to the DNC's rules. Plus, if you want to demonstrate, so you can demonstrate norm violation, you can also demonstrate leadership, right? Because guess what? If enough of the bottom candidates, and I mean that in terms of the brute rankings by polling, not by their actual quality, the bottom candidates were to say yes to this kind of debate, let alone the top candidates, how long do you think it would be before the DNC came up with some rationale for sanctioning it? The vote, as I said, was 222 to 137. So you've got fewer than 100 people whose minds have to change. And by the way, the vote they had this weekend was on a rule that was already in place. So they've already shown that they're willing to revisit it in the first place. If we know they're willing to revisit it in the face of the public opinion and outcry that we've seen now, does anyone think for a second that if they had the debate, it was a big success, the top candidates were participating, and everyone thought it was a great idea, does anyone really think that the DNC would would stay on this position of that was a bad thing, and no Bernie Sanders, no Elizabeth Warren, no Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, you can't participate in the next debate or debates thereafter? Does anyone really think that's going to happen? So if you want to be able to demonstrate leadership and a willingness to violate norms that don't actually serve a greater good, there's very few opportunities out there that are greater than this one. So it seems to me that if candidates are serious about it and they want to make clear that they're not running for student body president and they're looking for a pat on the head from the superintendent or the principal, then it seems to me that saying, you know what, DNC, you can lay down whatever consequences you want. This is important to me, so I'm going to do it, and I'm willing to take those consequences.